Hey guys, welcome to another episode of REsimpli podcast. I'm your host Sharad, and I'm super excited to have Donato Callahan on this call. He has an incredible journey. He's only 24 and he started investing at 21, and how he has amassed 400 units, 400 units in 3 years. So I'm super excited to have him on the podcast. Donato, welcome to the podcast, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me on today. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you so much, man. Hey, before we get started, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Where do you live? What kind of investing do you do, and how long you've been investing for?
Yeah, so I'm in St. Louis, Missouri right now, but I grew up in Iowa. So I've been in the Midwest for a while now. And I got started investing when I was in college, actually. I just put my first money in the stock market and lost a bunch of it when COVID hit, realized that there had to be a better way to control my own wealth building. And that got me into wholesaling and then house hacking and then buying the big stuff, like commercial multifamily apartments. And so now I've been in the multifamily syndication space for a couple of years now, and just closed my latest 200 unit deal in San Antonio, Texas, about a month ago.
Wow, amazing, man. Congratulations on all the success. So you lost a bunch of money in stock market, and then you looked at, okay, what are the other ways to kind of make money, have some passive income or get financial freedom, and then you looked into real estate. And then you started like what most of the other investors do, started wholesaling, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. What happened? Like, how did your wholesaling journey go? And then what triggered you from wholesaling to doing, large multifamily, what you're doing now?
Yeah. So when I got into wholesaling, I was looking for ways to start getting into real estate without having to have a lot of capital. And I actually joined and a big proponent of REsimpli, Ryan Dossey's Create Cash Flow
Right.
group. That was my first mastermind that I joined. And it was through his organization that I got introduced to the different softwares, the different tools, how to do this, what it looks like, got into calling and texting and mailing, and basically a crash course around the whole project. And got some stuff under contract, had some leads that I better wholesaler than I could have closed if they knew what they were doing when I was getting started. I know enough to say, yeah, I could have done better. And it was through that process that the community really reached out to me and folks who were talking about the different things they were doing, the success they had had. And someone was talking about, wholesaling is great, but what about assets that we can purchase once and get paid from multiple times through holding them? I'm like, well, that sounds great. And they said, and the best thing about it is instead of having to buy one unit, you can buy four or 10 or 50 or 100. And so we started looking at multifamily as a way to start getting to that assets that we could hold for a longer period of time, create more wealth, and be able to do one transaction that pays us multiple times as opposed to wholesaling one deal and then having to go find the next one to get your next paycheck.
So then you just decided to not do wholesaling anymore. It's just focus all your resources on buy and hold.
Yeah, basically. So I shut down my wholesaling operation around March of 2021. And at that
Right.
point, I was just throwing myself into the commercial side. I said, let's see what I can do here. And I ended up finding a 96 unit building in St. Louis, Missouri that I was really interested in. And I found some partners through, Ryan's community, said, hey, I want to go try this out. So we did a bunch of work, brought in this professional underwriter to analyze the deal, and we thought it was going to be, a good price was like $3 million. And so we contacted the owner and said, "Hey, look, we're this group. We have some professional experience over here, and we think this would be the price that we could pay for it." And so we wrote an offer. And on spring break of my senior year of college, I got the LOI accepted on the 96 unit deal in St. Louis. So I was all aflutter, super excited about it, and it got to the end of my college career, graduated on a Saturday morning, got in the car and road tripped 3 days back home to my home state of Iowa. Got home around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. Finally, college is done. I can relax for the summer. What I chose to do is get home at 11 o'clock and then be in the car at 4 a.m. the next morning, driving to St. Louis to go meet the contractors I'd hired to do our on the ground inspection. My team flew out from Colorado. I was there the next day walking the units to basically shore up our estimation on our rehab budget.
Oh wow. And you say your team flew out from Colorado. What team flew out? Like these are people that were funding the deal?
Yeah, so these are folks who had capital raising capabilities and
Okay.
professional underwriting in this space. So I was kind of the sweat equity side of it, putting information in,
Got
and
it.
they were the ones who had more of the expertise. So all young guys, and we got there, super excited about this deal. And then, come out of pocket for the walkthrough expenses, and we get there, we find out deals in a lot worse shape than we thought. Finances aren't quite what we thought they were going to be. Through no one's necessarily fault. It was just not what we thought we were buying. And so we go to the seller and say, "Hey, look, this is pretty different than what we were expecting when we got here. So we still want to move forward with it, but we can't transact at this price. We have to the transact at this, for all of these reasons, and they're very understandable. There's things that we have to do to this that weren't communicated to us, and they didn't want to discuss the price at all. And I said, great, no problem. We'll eat the costs and we'll wish you best of luck. So I lost a couple grand on my out of pocket costs to go and buy these deals, and was basically back to square one when that deal didn't work. So we were out the deal. Team flew back, and it was about 2 or 3 months later. I had just closed on my first ever house hack. Bought a multifamily building in St. Louis. That I also started my job as a geospatial analyst for the Department of Defense. And then that's also when an old friend of mine said, "Hey, I know you tried doing multifamily and have some experience now. Why don't you come join this other community and mastermind with me, and let's see if we can do multifamily together."
Okay. And then what was the other community, and then walk me through the first deal that you got under contract and purchased.
Yeah, so that was a multifamily mindset community, mastermind
Okay.
for multifamily syndication. And I got started
Okay.
there around August of 2021.
Okay.
And what we ended up doing is putting together a team of about 4 or 5 people who were going to do capital raising and asset management, and really just cut our teeth on what it takes to analyze and prep deals. So we looked at about 96 in 3 months, interviewed a bunch of,
96 deals.
yep, 96 deals in three
Wow.
months.
That's a lot of
Now,
deals, more than one deal per day.
yeah, and it was a lot. It seemed like a lot back then, but if I flash forward to today, in the first quarter of 2024, I looked at 1,161.
Oh, wow.
And yeah.
These are large
So
multifamily, more than 5, 10 units.
yes. So
Wow.
I've scaled up a little bit since then on what I'm looking at. But at that point, it's a ton of deals, and we kept going to sponsors. And these sponsors are the ones that had the capital and the experience for the banks to work with us. And we get a deal together, and I'd say, hey,
So just
for
before
example,
we just explain for people that are not aware of the term sponsors, like who is a sponsor and what is their role in this deal?
yeah, so a sponsor's role in a syndication is essentially they have the SREO, or the Schedule of Real Estate Owned, which is basically a fancy word for track record. They have a track record and the net worth to be able to essentially guarantee that the
Okay.
bank's going to be in a safe position when they go in to lend for this property. So they're the operational know-how and the financial know-how and capability to allow the bank to want to work with you and know that this investment is actually going to be operated.
Okay. So you have the sponsors, like then what happens? So you look through 96 deals in
Yep.
3 months. Then did you come across something that seemed like a good deal? And where were you finding these deals? Were they on like not MLS, what do you call, like LoopNet?
Some LoopNet, calling a lot of brokers, folks who had
Okay.
these opportunities come into market, and you get on their email lists, and they tell you, here's what we're offering, and you'd look at a lot of those and over again. And that's really how we got these deals, is going on those lists. So
Okay.
basically, we found some opportunities. We interviewed sponsors and said, what are you looking for? And they gave us a list, right? I want A, B, and C. Like, we said, fantastic, let's go find a deal that meets that criteria. So we do that, and then we pitch it to them, and they tell us, no, we don't like it for these reasons. We'd say, okay, great, well, what do you not like about it? And they give us feedback. So then the next deal we brought to them, we would filter through that feedback. And that happened
Okay.
about 4 times until the sponsors realized that we weren't going to go away, and we were going to keep learning. And they said, you know what, this deal actually makes sense, let's go for it. And so on that deal, they helped us put an offer on it, and that was my first 172 unit building in Waco, Texas, which ended up closing in July of 2022. So a little after, like about 9, 10
Okay.
months after I got started.
So you found this deal and you take it to the sponsor. So they provide guarantee to the bank that, hey, we've looked at the financials, we'll take care of the operational side of it. Go ahead and lend money. What was the purchase price of the deal, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, that was, I think, 15.5 million for that deal.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
And then did you put any money in that deal?
I did not.
Okay.
I
All
didn't
right.
have to.
So what does the structure look like for you? How much equity do you get in the deal? And then what does that look like the payoff for you?
Yeah. So on a deal like that, on a syndication, which is how you raise capital, because for those who don't know, syndication is basically just a pooling of funds to buy a big building that you couldn't buy by yourself. So in a syndication, about 70% of the deal equity is going towards the passive investors, or what we call them our limited partners. So limited partners own 70% of the deal, and the people who are working the deal are the general partners, and we own about 30%. So everyone that's working on the deal, sponsors included, capital raisers included, and my team, people who found it, are all sharing in that 30%. So
Okay.
half of that 30% goes to sponsors, right? They're fronting all the cash, they take the most risk. About 30% is allocated for folks who are able to come in and do asset management and capital raising. And then my team got about 20% of that 30%. And
Okay.
so if you look at the overall deal, I probably own about 1% of the whole asset.
Right. Dude, that's still
But
incredible to do that at such a young age. I cannot tell you how impressive that is.
oh, well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Because it was basically, I got paid for learning and I got to do it with a safety net and I got to do it in a way with, I get to meet a lot of cool people. And so 1% of a large deal might sound small to folks, but that still got me, a mid five-figure check on
Right.
closing and will be close to six figures when I sell it. And it's tax free through the benefits of depreciation. So I'm got
Absolutely.
paid to learn and to have to pay taxes on it. And that catapulted me to where I am today.
Yeah, and not to mention the network that you build. I think in the long term, that's going to be the biggest value on how I see is the network of team and the communication that you've figured out, and then the team that you build in the long term. I think that's where the biggest payoff is going to be in the long term.
Absolutely. I would not be here, end all be all. I would not be here if it weren't for the people who chose to invest in me and
Right.
share their information and help build me up to be where I am today.
Right. Before we move forward, did you ever close any wholesale deal, or you're like, just screw this,
I
I'm just
did
going to do
do
one
one.
time? You
I
did?
did. Yeah, I
Yeah.
closed.
How much did you
It was
make
the
on
one
that?
2 grand. It was
2 grand.
it's something tiny. Uh,
Yeah.
it's crazy. Out of all the marketing I did and the work I did in the wholesaling, the deal that actually closed was a remote wholesale that cost me no money in marketing and 30 minutes of work. It
Wow.
was, and I had been networking with an agent in St. Louis, and they had a seller, and this agent was trying to sell his property, and they knew me. I knew another wholesaler, and that wholesaler knew another wholesaler.
Oh,
And so
wow.
basically, I connected this broker with this wholesaler who
Right.
ended up wholesaling it to another person. And there was about six people in that whole transaction. And so for connecting those two folks and putting those deals together, I got 2 grand for 30
Yeah,
minutes of work.
that's not bad. It's like 4,000 bucks an hour. Yeah, I'll take
Yeah,
that.
that's what I'm saying, right? So
Yeah,
basically, what I'm saying here is, I'm worth four grand an hour when I was 21 years
perfect.
old. So you take
Hey,
that to the
we
bank.
we appreciate 30 to 45 minutes of your time. I cannot tell you how much that means to me. It's like $2,000 to $3,000 worth of time that you're spending with us. That's amazing,
No,
man. All right.
absolutely.
So you close on that 172 unit building. What happens after that? So you're up to 400 units. So you close to 200 unit building couple of last month. So what happened in between? Did you just like, hey, this is amazing. I'm just gonna keep finding more and more of these?
Exactly. So after we closed it and the asset management team took over, we said, great, let's go try and find another one. And we did find another one, another project we were under contract on for a very long time. And eventually that deal got caught in the rising interest rates and property not performing as well, a whole bunch of stuff. So we worked the deal for almost a year straight, trying to
Wow.
put it together when everything was shifting. And we ended up losing the deal over time. Like, I had to walk away from it because it just a bunch of stuff wasn't working right. But it was around that time that I was looking to promote and talk about the application that I've been developing for almost a year and a half at that point, a Bright Investor, when I got connected with another multifamily group's podcast, just like this one. And was able to go down and do that podcast and talk a little bit about my experience and what I'd done. And after doing that podcast with the guy named Rod Khalif, you might be familiar with him,
Yeah.
uh, Free Capital. After that podcast we was recorded, the next day he called me and said, "You should start partnering with me on my deals and be, my young hustler that is
Right.
going to go out there and get things done." And so I said, "Sure." And that's how I started partnering with these folks. And 3 months after I joined them, we got under contract on our latest deal.
Oh, amazing, man. Hey, I want to talk about Bright Investor, but before we get into that, how much more work would you say it is to close a large multifamily, let's say over 50 units, compared to doing a wholesale deal or a single family residential property?
It's relatively the same. I mean, you still have a seller. They still have personal goals they're trying to get out of it. Only difference is on a residential side, generally you're dealing with a consumer or the owner, occupant who has emotional attachments to the house, or they have a personal reason for selling. Whereas on the commercial side, you're dealing with investors, and it's purely a numbers game. The emotions really aren't there on the transaction, but you're still lining up financing, you're still getting insurance, you're still estimating a rehab budget, and then you put money together to make it, whether you're buying it yourself or you're raising capital for it. But the timeline might can be a little bit faster for a wholesaler in some cases. On the commercial side, you can be in and out of a acquisition in 3 months, so 90 days, and I
Right.
can be under contract and close in 90 days. So the amount of work is relatively the same, but your checks go from 2 or 3 zeros to 5 or 6 zeros.
Absolutely, man. All right. So tell us about Bright Investor, what it is, and what problem are you guys trying to solve?
Yeah, so Bright Investor really started with the problem that I was having, which was I want to buy real estate and I don't want to make a mistake when I do it. And I want to make sure I'm buying the right spot, no matter what market I'm in, no matter what time it is. And then want to be able to find the best deals in that market. And so Bright Investor was born out of a necessity for that problem. And I ended up co-creating the company with Brandon Turner's old intern, who worked with him at Bigger Pockets, who ended up having the same problems that I was having. And so we said, why don't we try and create a company that does that?
Is
And
it
so
Matt?
now it was Drew. It's not
True.
not
Okay.
Matt Buck. It's Drew
Okay.
McCluskey. He was over at them for about 6 months back in 2021. But Matt's great. Matt, he just got
Yeah.
married. He's a cool guy.
Cool.
Fantastic stuff. So we came together and said, let's see if we can build this. And we have. So now what Bright Investor lets you do is basically extremely fast market and deal analysis and sourcing. So if you're looking to buy a property, you want to know what the rent comps are, we have it. If you want to check out the crime stats from last week on a street by street level, we have it. If you want to understand, which market's doing better right now, Denver versus Chicago, or which zip code is doing the best in the city, we have that in real time. And then we've partnered with folks to be able to bring MLS and off-market deal access. So you can go from finding the best markets in the country to the best zip codes in the country to the best streets, and then find the deals that make sense for you, while then also being able to skip trace and analyze your deals all within that one place. So it's been super, super cool to be able to see people basically go from I'm not even sure how to invest in real estate to I'm under contract on my first deal, or I'm a real estate agent and I sold 3 listings to a new buyer because of Bright Investor. We're seeing
That's
folks
amazing.
make money and save time at this all with this platform.
So is it for commercial investors like yourself or even residential investors?
The most value you'll get out of the platform is on the residential side with the property access we have as well. But I have folks who are commercial multifamily syndicators like me, and then that's what I use it for every single day is commercial real estate. I have
Okay.
developers, I have wholesalers, I have flippers, all using the platform because the market information applies to everyone.
Right.
Commercial real estate investors, they don't want to buy in a D area with high crime. And when I pull up a map and say, did you know that 2 assaults and a vehicle theft have been happening here every single week for the past month? It applies to our
Right.
commercial investors. And when they're looking for the local rent growth and the incomes and the even build permits, it's like we track the actual path of progress in a city using, kind of weather system heat map technology to see where you can predict the growth is going to happen. So we do all of that. And so we have folks from across the industries coming to us looking for answers on where they should be investing and what deal makes sense for them, regardless of what type of deals they're trying to do.
So walk me through a use case. Let's say if I'm an investor and I live in San Diego and I want to buy some cash flowing properties anywhere in the US where it makes sense.
Hmm.
How would I go about that? Let's say I'm comparing between St. Louis and Indiana, for example. Indiana is where I invest. Just walk me through a use case, what that would look like for me.
Absolutely. So first logging on, we have our market comparison tool. And so you can simply log in a Bright Investor and say, show me the top markets in Missouri or Indiana for population growth, for rent growth, or for appreciation, and compare them head to head, see which ones make the most sense for you. Or you can look at St. Louis versus Indianapolis and compare those two specific cities head to head. So Brian Mitchell will show you which one is outperforming the other and then allow you to start investigating into the city. So let's say it's St. Louis. When you start looking into it, we'll show you which pockets in the city are appreciating the fastest, have the lowest crime, with the fastest growing rents, next to the best schools that are going to attract high quality tenants. Break that down from the best parts of the city to the best zip codes, all the way to those really nice hotspot growing streets across the entire city. At that point, we then turn on our properties search to say, great, this is the area you want to invest in. Let's find some properties that are available for you on or off market. You tell a Bright investor what you want. Say a single family house with at least 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, with a motivated seller. Say someone that has high equity, absentee owner out of state that's owned it for at least 15 years. Great. Let's see what properties are available. And then Bright Investor will show you exactly how many leads are available on that specific area that you want. And you can click on them to get information such as all the property details, their phone numbers, their email addresses, comps, calculators, mortgage estimators, all of that put together to then say, great, I can pick up the phone, I can start dialing, and I can share this information with my spouse, with my client, with my investors, with my agents, with my anyone on my team that wants to see what deals I'm doing. So you can go from A to Z with that one platform.
Okay, so once I've shortlisted, let's say a zip code that I want to invest in, or a particular neighborhood in that zip code that I want to invest in, then it just takes me like zooms into a map view. I can click on a property or I can apply my filter, then it shows me, it pins all the property address. I can click on it, it gives me that, and then I can skip trace, get the information, and just call from there.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
And then very soon here, we're releasing a pretty exciting feature called a Bright Report. So essentially, it'll take all the information about the deal, including how much money it makes, including the market, how the market around it is doing, including all of the comps done for you, and give it to you in a one pager that you can send to anyone you want. So, like your lender, or your hard
All right.
money lender, or your insurer, or your team. And it makes it A to Z. Here's the properties that I want.
Perfect. And then you said you're also talking in talks with some agents or like MLS. So does it only show off-market properties or does it also show properties that are listed on the market?
It also does on market. So it does on market and off market deals across the country. And so we're
Okay.
actually in conversation right now. And for anyone listening out there that has an agent team, feel free to reach out to us. But agent teams, brokerages, and MLSs who need to give their buyers agents a competitive edge, who need to be able to reduce costs for the maximum value for their agents, and who need to be able to transact with people who have all these questions and are demanding full service in a
Right.
time where full service takes too much time. We're working with them to be able to bring Bright Investor to all their agents at a fantastic price point and make it something that is just integral to the real estate transaction process.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can see myself using it. We sell turnkey property, so I think this would be great information for us to have where we say, hey, look, we put this report together, and correct me if I'm wrong, we put this report together from Bright Investors showing how the area is appreciating, how
Yep.
much population is growing, the values are growing, the rent is growing, and then
Yep.
send that as part of the property package.
Exactly. That's exactly what we're seeing. So folks who have a listing or on a like a major platform, they put the Bright report. If you
Right,
are turnkey, actually, we work with some turnkey providers. Same thing. They have a distribution list and they say, hey guys, here's the Bright report. If you're
right.
trying to buy a property and you want to learn more about it, you simply look up a Bright report. And then you can do that no matter what country you're in. Sorry, know what county you're in, your zip code you're in, what city you're in. you can do that repeated process and always keep on top of it while still being able to transact on a deal by deal basis. So we're pretty excited for these things, and we're looking for partnerships for people across the
Absolutely.
country and real estate professionals to work with.
Absolutely, man. So for anyone that's listening, if they want to learn more, what's the website that they can go to?
You can go to brightinvestor.com and check us out on social media at Bright Investor Official, where we post updates on the platform when things and like new features are releasing and walkthroughs and how people use it with use cases, especially when we have folks who are transacting deals and making things happen.
Absolutely, man. Sounds very exciting, man. Hey, Donato, it's been absolutely incredible having you on the podcast, man. I really appreciate it. We have our last segment of the show where we ask you a couple of quick questions and get your answers. What do you do for fun? You're only 24, so you must have a very fun, exciting life.
Oh wow, you called me out here. I don't. I work a lot.
Hey, that's
Um,
if that's fun to
yeah,
you, power to you.
it is fun to me.
Yeah.
Little thing that's always kept me going to this point in my life is, I don't have a spouse. I don't have kids. I don't have a lot of these whys that a lot of people use, for a lot of their, propulsion towards success. And so what's been really important to me is saying, I may not know exactly what I want right now, but when I find that person, place, thing, or hobby that means the world to me, I want to be able to say yes to it without hesitation. And so that has been really helpful in getting me to keep working now as I keep developing my life and growing professionally and personally. But things I do for fun right now include a lot of board gaming. Love big, nasty, complex board games. I'm going to do one tonight. And I love going out on walks and listening to jazz concerts. It's a couple of my favorite
Awesome, man.
hobbies.
So much wisdom coming from a 24-year-old guy, man. That's incredible. Super impressive. All right. What's the book that's have most influence on your life? It could be a personal book, it could be a business, or one of each.
Yeah, I really like Who Not How. That was critical
Okay.
for me. Because I was always a person that was saying, what can I do? What can I do? What do I need to do to make this happen?
Yeah.
And ever since I started thinking about, well, this person knows more than me about this one thing, so let's just use
Right.
them for that one thing and get out of the way. It's been absolutely critical, and it led to my own establishment of my three, rules for leadership, which is, a good leader needs to take responsibility, give credit, and then get out of the way.
Awesome,
And
man.
it's doing those three things based off that book have been absolutely incredible.
Absolutely. It's by Dan Sullivan, right?
Yes, Dan
Yeah.
Sullivan's.
Yeah. Great book. All right. Final question. If you could spend a day with anyone, dead or alive, who would you want to spend the day with and why?
The last time I was asked that question, my answer, and it might still be that person was a George Michael from Wham. I
Okay.
loved George Michael when I was in high school and college. I thought he was the coolest. And I really would love
Awesome
to hang
answer,
out with
man.
him. Um,
Awesome answer.
and on a professional side, I would love to be able to watch someone like Churchill,
Okay.
someone who has the fate of a nation at their backs. And I think I have a hard time with the business. What's
Right.
it like to have an entire country relying on you when the Western world is teetering between, what they've always known and what could possibly be? How do you handle that kind of pressure? How do you handle those kinds of people giving you those calls, those letters in the middle of the night? I think that'd be really interesting to see, as your problems scale up, how do you handle that and try to apply it to my own business?
Absolutely, man. Great answers. All right, man. If someone wants to connect with you and learn more about Bright Investor or just like about your journey, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, so I just actually launched a website that has a lot of my information on it at donatocallahan.com. It has the opportunity to get in touch with me, talk about your real estate journey, your goals, and learn a little bit about my story and connect with me for speaking and podcasts as well. So check me out at donatocallahan.com and on social medias at Donato_Callahan for Instagram.
Awesome, man. We'll put all of those links in show notes. All right. Thank you, Donato. It's been absolutely incredible, man. So much great information that you shared. And I have to say, your journey is absolutely incredible and it's very, very impressive. You should be very proud of yourself.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you, man.